Queen Elizabeth II died on September 8 at the age of 96, and the royal family has now announced that the funeral service will be held Monday, Sept. 19 at 6 a.m. ET at Westminster Abbey. Here's a guide to the events leading up to her memorial. Thursday, September 8, D-Day. The Queen passed away on September 8 in Scotland. The Queen died peacefully at Balmoral this afternoon, Buckingham Palace announced in a statement on Thursday. The King and the Queen Consort will remain at Balmoral this evening and will return to London tomorrow. The new King also released a statement, saying, "The death of my beloved mother, Her Majesty the Queen, is a moment of the greatest sadness for me and all members of my family. Had she died in London, the royal protocol known as Operation London Bridge would have taken effect. Her death in Scotland enacted a plan known as Operation Unicorn, so named for the country's official animal." Friday, September 9, the Commonwealth, and the world, mourns in Scotland. The Queen's coffin was moved to the ballroom at Balmoral Castle, where staff paid their respects. Across the country and the world, celebrities and public figures continue to release statements of condolences. Helen Mirren, who won both a Tony Award and an Oscar for her portrayal of Queen Elizabeth, reacted on Instagram. "I am proud to be an Elizabethan," Mirren wrote alongside a photo of Queen Elizabeth. "We mourn a woman who, with or without the crown, was the epitome of nobility." Saturday, September 10, the world meets King Charles III. King Charles III officially ascended the British throne following his proclamation in the state apartments of St. James's Palace in London. He later signed copies of his declaration, with Prince William, Queen Consort Camilla, Prime Minister Liz Truss also signing the declaration as witnesses. In recognition of the new sovereign, flags were flown at full mast from the time of the principal proclamation at St James's Palace until 1 hour after the proclamations in Scotland, Northern Ireland, and Wales, after which flags returned to half-mast in mourning for the death of Her Majesty the Queen. Sunday, September 11, the Queen leaves Scotland. Her Majesty's coffin began its journey on Sunday, 3 days after her death was announced on Sept. 8. It first travelled from Balmoral Castle to Edinburgh, by road, and arrived at the Palace of Holyrood House, where it rested in the throne room until Monday afternoon. Monday, September 12, a vigil in Scotland Monday consisted of a procession formed on the forecourt of the Palace of Holyrood House to convey the coffin to St Giles Cathedral, Edinburgh. King Charles III and members of the royal family then took part in the procession and attended a service in St Giles Cathedral to receive the coffin. The coffin then lay at rest in St Giles Cathedral on Monday, guarded by vigils from the Royal Company of Archers, to allow the people of Scotland to pay their respects. Tuesday, September 13, the Queen comes to London after the vigil on Monday. The coffin travelled by Royal Air Force aircraft from Edinburgh Airport, arriving at RAF Northolt later on Tuesday and accompanied on the journey by Princess Royal. From there, the coffin was then conveyed to Buckingham Palace by road, to rest in the ballroom. Wednesday, September 14, a procession through London. The Queen's coffin arrived at Buckingham Palace on Wednesday afternoon, borne in procession on a gun carriage of the King's Troop Royal Horse Artillery from Buckingham Palace to the Palace of Westminster. The event travelled via Queen's Gardens, the Mall, Horse Guards, and Horse Guards Arch, Whitehall, Parliament Street, Parliament Square, and New Palace Yard. After the coffin arrived at Westminster Hall, the Archbishop of Canterbury conducted a short service assisted by the Very Reverend Drive. David Hoyle, Dean of Westminster, Prince Harry and Prince Andrew were notably excluded from an important moment of the ceremony, as the two men were not permitted to salute the late monarch's coffin. King Charles III, Princess Anne, Prince William and others saluted the coffin, as Harry and Andrew stood with their heads bowed. The two men were also not allowed to wear military uniforms for the ceremony. Kate Middleton and Meghan Markle each gave subtle nods to the Queen during the service. The newly appointed Princess of Wales wore the Queen's diamond and pearl leaf brooch on her black Catherine Walker & Co. coat dress. The accessory was pointed out by the court jeweler, who identified the item as one worn by Her Majesty in 1999. Meghan wore a pair of pearl and diamond earrings gifted to her from the Queen, which she showed off as she kept her hair swept up into a bun and covered with a black topper to match her all-black attire. In a touching moment, Harry was seen wiping away tears as he honored his late grandmother, and Meghan curtsied out of respect to the late monarch. After the 20-minute ceremony, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex held hands as they walked behind Prince William and Kate Middleton to exit the ceremony. Thursday, September 15th to Sunday, September 18th, London pays their respects. The coffin will now lie in state in Westminster Hall until the morning of the state funeral on Monday. Monday, September 19th, the funeral on the morning of Monday, Sept. 19. The lying in state will end and the coffin will be taken in procession from the Palace of Westminster to Westminster Abbey, where the state funeral service will take place. Following the state funeral, the coffin will travel in procession from Westminster Abbey to Wellington Arch. From Wellington Arch, the coffin will travel to Windsor, and once there, the state hearse will travel in procession to St. George's Chapel, Windsor Castle via the Long Walk. A committal service will then take place in St. George's Chapel. For more on Her Majesty's death, and Queen Elizabeth II's funeral, check out ET's ongoing coverage. Queen Elizabeth closes Platinum Jubilee celebrations with surprise appearance. This video is unavailable because we were unable to load a message from our sponsors. If you are using ad blocking software, please disable it and reload the page.